Yoga for stress and anxiety. Find a comfortable seat. If you choose to do so, you can lay in Shavasana. Begin to breathe deeply into your belly, drawing your frontal hip points in towards your bottom front ribs. Lengthen the spine, slide the shoulders down the back. On your inhale, fill your belly first, then your ribs, then your chest, and then exhale, first from the chest, then the ribs, and then the belly. Continue breathing deeply, lengthening the exhale, perhaps holding for a count or two at the top of the inhale. Draw your awareness to what you're feeling right now. Recognize your emotion. Give it a name. Could be more than one emotion. Just pause to acknowledge it without judgment. Accept and allow those emotions. So often, even as adults, we're told that we're not allowed to feel what we're feeling, especially what we consider to be negative emotions, anxiety, fear. I'm telling you, you are allowed to feel those emotions. In fact, they're necessary. Just like pain, they're a warning sign, and we need to pay attention to it. Investigate how that emotion feels in your body. Do a quick body scan from head to toe. Note where you might be holding tension. Relax the muscles in your face and your shoulders. Soften the belly. Allow the hips to feel heavy. Check in with your breath. Are you continuing to breathe deeply into the belly, making your exhale longer than your inhale? Pay attention to your heartbeat. Just observe it. Finally, it's important that we not identify with these emotions. That is to say, you are not your emotions. You are like the sky, and everything else is like the weather. It's just passing through. So just take a moment to allow it to do just that. Pass through. Begin to bring your awareness back to the present moment. You can open your eyes. Remove the blocks if you're using them to support your legs. Adjust your posture. Draw your frontal hip points in, lengthen the spine, and roll the shoulders down the back. Take your right arm up and overhead into a side stretch, reaching for the wall on the opposite side of the room. And then do the other side. Take your left arm up overhead, reaching, stretching through the side body, really getting length from hip to fingertips. We're going to add some dynamic movement to that, so we're going to sync it with our breath. So reach, exhale, inhale, reach, exhale, inhale, reach, exhale, inhale, reach, exhale. And now we're going to do a gentle twist. Take your right hand to your left knee and your left hand behind you. Twist from the waist, the ribs, and then the shoulders. Making sure not to press yourself too far. Only go about 80% of how far you can go. And then look over your left shoulder. Inhale up nice and tall before coming back to center. Check your posture. Sit up nice and tall. Take your left hand to your right knee and your right hand behind you. Twist from your waist, then your ribs, then your shoulders. Take a few breaths here. Then inhale up nice and tall. Before twisting, or coming back to center rather. And take your chin to your sternum and roll your right ear to your right shoulder. Again, only going as far as comfortable to you. And then your left ear to your left shoulder. And begin syncing that with your breath. Inhaling to one side. Exhaling to center, inhaling back to the other side. You might go a little bit slower or a little bit faster than I'm going here on the screen, depending on the speed of your breath and what's comfortable for your body. And come back to center. We're going to extend the legs nice and long in front of us. Make sure that your sit bones are connected with the floor and place your hands next to your hips. Drawing the frontal hip points in, sitting up nice and tall, drawing the shoulder blades down the back. And depending on your body, you might want to place your hands a little bit forward or a little bit backward. Pressing into the floor with the palms, flex your feet, point your feet. Flex your feet, really spread your toes and bring them back towards your face, and then point your feet like a ballerina, getting that stretch on the top foot. Point, flex. We're going to take our right foot over our left knee and take your fingers and lace them underneath through the toes. Make some circles with your ankle. And you can kind of wiggle your fingers back and forth here. Give the toes a little extra stretch, a little extra wiggle. Take your ankle in the opposite direction. And then spread the fingers wide and release. And here we're going to take and wiggle each little toe, give it a little massage, maybe pull on it a little bit. Wiggle it around, give it some love. And then take your thumbs and come down the center of your foot, really massaging into that tissue, muscle, and fascia. Maybe wiggle the bones back a little bit if that feels good in your body. Make sure you adjust your posture, that your frontal hip points are in, your shoulders are down your back, and you're sitting up nice and tall. We're going to cradle our baby. So notice here that when I grab my leg, my back is still straight. I'm not hunched over. You don't want to hunch over. You need to maintain that posture. So maybe your baby has a stinky diaper and you hold it a little away from your face. Just make sure that you're doing what's comfortable in your body. You only go about 80% of how far you can go, and then you can rock your baby. Release that leg back to the floor. Let's do the other side. Crossing left leg over right knee. Interlace the fingers from underneath the foot and make circles with your ankle. And then coming back in the other direction. And then spread the fingers wide and release. And give each little toe some love. And then come down the middle of your foot with your thumbs and massage into that tissue and fascia. Maybe wiggling the bones around a little bit. We're going to cradle the baby on this side. Remember your posture. You don't want to have that slouchy posture. So draw the frontal hip points in, shoulders down the back, and sit up nice and tall. And then figure out where your baby needs to be. My hips on this side were a little bit more stiff, so I needed to hold my baby a little further away. Once you find that comfortable place where you can maintain a straight back, then you can rock your baby. And release that foot back down to the floor. Now place your hands wherever that place was comfortable for you. Maybe a little forward, maybe a little back, but somewhere near your hips. Check your posture. Sit up nice and tall, frontal hip points in, shoulders down the back. And then press into the mat, lifting the sternum. A little bit of a back bend here, looking up at the ceiling. And release. And this time when we press in, we're going to do it again. Lift up on the pelvic floor. Really activate the abdominal muscles here. Press down, lift, lifting the sternum, a little bit of a back bend, and really flex the abs. Really lift up on the pelvic floor. And release. I'm going to do one more time. Check your posture. Press into the mat. Lift the sternum. Activate the abs. Don't forget to breathe here. And release. Take your feet flat on the floor in front of you. Knees bent. Place your hands behind your knees. Check your posture. Make sure your abs are nice and strong like they just were, and then you can lift your feet up into boat. If you're feeling comfortable, you can let go of your legs. You can even extend your legs. Wherever your body is comfortable, be careful not to fall backward. Find that place of stability again, drawing up on the pelvic floor, really activating those abs. Lifting the feet again into boat. And again, if you're feeling comfortable, you can release the legs. You can take your hands off the legs. You can even extend one leg and then the other. And then release back down to the floor. And here we're getting ready to do an active malasana. So bringing tension into the body in order to recognize those places we're holding tension and then releasing. So come into a low squat. If you don't feel comfortable in this position, you can use a block under your bottom, just like I'm demonstrating here, to support you and support your spine. So if that feels most comfortable in your body, take that modification. Otherwise, go ahead and come into a low squat. You might have to adjust your posture just a little bit, adjust the width of your feet until you feel comfortable. And I'm motioning here to make sure to check your posture, drawing the frontal hip points in, sliding the shoulders down the back, lengthening from tailbone to spine. And you're going to press your elbows into your knees, and as you're pressing your elbows into your knees, I want you to press your knees back into your elbows so you're getting a little bit of a root and a rebound. And really pull up on the pelvic floor, activating those abdominal muscles. Really make this a muscular pose. Using every effort. And then release and just sort of relax. And then let's do that again. Pressing elbows into knees, knees into elbows, pulling up on the pelvic floor, really activating those abdominal muscles. Making every muscle in your body active. And then release. Let's do it one more time. Pressing elbows to knees, knees to elbows, activating those abdominal muscles, those core muscles. And then release. Here we're going to do a shoulder stretch. If you have any issues with your rotator cuff, I encourage you to take a break on this one. Maybe take child's pose instead. You can sit in Virasana. You can sit in modified Virasana and give your feet a little bit of a stretch. Sometimes people feel that this is a little bit uncomfortable. So if you don't like that, you can do that, but sit on a block. It'll take some pressure off your toes. So whatever feels best for you, you can take whatever modification. If none of those feel good, you can come down into child's pose. If you're not going to do the shoulder stretch, or you can do an easy seated pose, do the shoulder stretch instead. So take your strap, and you want to make sure that your metal piece is in your hand, because we're going to go up over our heads and we don't want it to smack you in the face. So I'm demonstrating shoulder width apart from armpit to armpit. That's about shoulder width. Make sure your arms are shoulder width apart. Draw in your frontal hip points. Lengthen through the spine. Roll the shoulders down in the back. That's very important. And then you can take the strap up with some tension in your arms and keeping tension in the strap. Move your arms down the strap as you bring it back behind you down to your sacrum. And coming back up over the head. Releasing. And then readjusting that strap so you're shoulder width apart again. Check your posture. Make sure that you're sitting up nice and tall, rolling the shoulders down the back before you come up over your head. Keeping tension in that strap, but take your hand down the strap as far as you need to go to make sure that you're being safe in your body. And be careful of not puffing out your front ribs. You want to make sure to keep those pulled in. Once again, coming up over the head, making sure the shoulders are rolled down the back. And only going about 80%. You want to stretch here, we don't want an injury. We're going to do that another time. Taking it down to the sacrum. And back up over the head. And once more, checking your posture, making sure those frontal hip points are in, shoulders are rolled down the back, lengthen the spine, and only going as far as your body allows you to go. And go ahead and take the strap and set it aside for now. And here we're going to come onto all fours. I like to use a blanket under my knees to pad my knees. You can do the same if you like. And here, just check your posture, making sure that shoulders, elbows, and wrists are stacked, and that hips and knees are stacked, and knees are hip width apart, hands are shoulder width apart. And here I'm demonstrating you want the fleshy part of your elbow to point forward. You don't want to be turning that part in. Drawing your hip points in towards your bottom front ribs, pressing away from the mat. Nice straight spine. Begin to drop your tailbone toward the backs of your knees. Arch your back, drop your head. And then lift your tailbone, drop your belly, lift your head. Inhaling, dropping your tailbone, arching your back, dropping your head. That's actually exhale. Inhale, lift your tailbone, drop your belly, lift your head. Exhale. This is cat. Inhale, cow. And sync that with your own breath. You might be going a little bit faster, a little bit more slowly than I am.
We'd be there together, just like we used to be. Underneath the swirling skies for all.
And come into a flat back here. We're going to take our right arm out in front of us, reaching through the fingertips, and your left leg about hip height. You can keep your toes on the floor if that works for you. Here I didn't have enough room to extend behind me, so I had my leg bent and my heel flexed, my feet flexed rather. And do the other side, reaching through the fingertips of the left fingers. Bring the right leg up to hip height. And once again, opposite side, making sure you draw in the frontal hip points. Really stabilizing your core here. Activating those abdominal muscles. And on this next one, if it's in your practice to do so, if you'd like to reach back and grab your ankle with your hand into half bow, only if it's in your practice to do so. And coming back to the floor, doing opposite side.
And I'm dreaming of a place where I could see your
And releasing.
and I think my brush would take.
And here we're going to take heels together, knees wide apart. If it feels better, you can keep your knees together and folding down into child's pose. You're going to make sure that your head meets the block or the mat, so your forehead should be resting on something. This stimulates the vagus nerve, which calms the parasympathetic nervous system. Mine comes all the way down to the floor, so I'm removing the block. But do what feels best in your body. And take a moment here, really make this active. And then relax into the pose. And go ahead and come back up out of that pose. And take the blanket and move it aside if you were using it for your knees. Make sure you have your blocks available to you. We're going to come down to our back. Feet flat on the floor. Draw the knees into the chest for a moment for Apanasana. Maybe rock back and forth. Give your spine a little bit of a massage. And drop both knees to the right side. Do your best to keep both shoulders on the floor if that's comfortable for you. And you can take your arms out either in a cactus or a T shape. So if your knees are dropping to the right side, you can be looking over your left shoulder. And then draw the knees back up to center and drop them to the opposite side. And then again, drawing to center. Maybe giving your knees another squeeze. And here we're going to come into sort of a malasana pose, so the pose we were doing earlier. Then we're going to extend our arms and flex our feet as though we're trying to hold up the ceiling. So this is supine crow. So here we're going to really make sure that we bring tension into the body. So come out of that for a moment, take an apanasana, give yourself a squeeze, and then come back into supine crow. So really bringing tension, really activating those muscles in the arms and the legs and the feet, drawing up on the pelvic floor, activating the core muscles to hold the ceiling up off of you. Don't forget to breathe. Release, coming back into apanasana. And once again, holding up that ceiling, really flexing the feet, bringing that tension into the legs, into the abdominal muscles, into the arms. Keeping your head and neck on the floor. Release. And apanasana one more time. Place both feet flat on the floor, knees bent, feet hips width apart. Cross your right foot over your left knee and draw your knee into your chest, your left knee into your chest. And if you have trouble grasping the left knee, you can take your strap and sort of thread it around the left knee, so through that hole that you're making with your right leg, and draw it in that way if that's more comfortable for you and your body. If this isn't comfortable for you at all, feel free to come out of it and take apanasana instead. And press the right knee away from your body as you draw the left knee into the chest. Release. And crossing left foot over right knee, drawing the opposite side. Left knee into body, or right knee into body rather, and pressing left knee away. You want to make sure that you're keeping your shoulders and neck relaxed onto the mat here. And release. From here, we're going to go into bridge. So place both feet flat on the floor, knees bent. Make sure that you have your hands flat on the floor. Draw the frontal hip points in very hard. Draw the frontal hip points in and then press the hips up toward the ceiling. Making sure to take the weight in the tops of the shoulders and not the neck. Really feeling press into the feet and then roll down one vertebrae at a time. Once again, drawing the frontal hip points in, lifting the hips up toward the ceiling, peeling the body up off the mat. And lowering down one vertebrae at a time. And one more time, drawing the frontal hip points in, pressing into the mat with palms and feet, lifting the hips, taking the weight into the tops of the shoulders and the upper arms. And then lowering down one vertebrae at a time. And here, go ahead and grab your block and place it right under your sacrum, so that kind of triangle patch, that flat patch on your lower back, right above your bottom, for supported bridge. And if you feel comfortable doing so here, you can take the soles of the feet up toward the ceiling, extending the legs long for legs up the wall without the wall. I like doing this pose toward the end of practice. It's a nice inversion. And it also requires you to use a little bit of ab strength. And then releasing the feet back down to the floor. Remove the block from under the sacrum, place it aside. And you're going to take your feet as wide as the mat, so to the edges of the mat. And bring the knees into touch for constructive rest. And drop both knees to the right side, keeping the feet wide for wide-legged twist. And then draw the knees to center and drop to the other side. And then come back to center, drawing both knees into the chest for another squeeze. A little bit of apanasana here. And you can take whatever final pose you want here. So if you have happy baby in your practice, if you want to just stretch long. And here I'm going to give you the option. You can either come down into Shavasana, whatever that shape takes for you, whatever feels good in your body, or you can do a supported Supta Baddha Konasana, so reclined bound angle. So to support, you take the blanket and roll it up just as I've shown here, and place it right up against your sacrum, and then take your blocks and put them under your knees. You'd want the soles of your feet to come together. And you definitely want the blocks to support the knees so you can allow them to fall out to the sides. And then recline back over the blanket, allowing the shoulders to fall over the sides and the head to relax back onto the mat. If this doesn't feel good to you, come out of the pose and just take a regular Shavasana pose. And begin to breathe deeply, first into the belly, then into the ribs, then into the chest, and then exhale first from the chest, then the ribs, and then the belly. Beginning to slow and lengthen the breath. And draw your awareness to your feet here. Allow them to feel heavy and supported by the mat. Allow your legs to feel heavy. Your hips to rest and feel supported by the mat. Soften the belly. Feel the back body expand as you inhale into the blanket or the mat. Relax the muscles across the chest. Releasing any tension in the shoulders. Allowing the shoulders and the upper arms to feel heavy and rest on the mat. Relax the muscles in the back of the neck, allowing the head to feel heavy and supported by the mat. Relax the muscles of the face and the jaw. Soften the muscles around the eyes, allowing the eyes to feel heavy. Soften the muscle between the brow and in the forehead. Begin to bring life back into your fingers and toes. Bring your mind back into the present moment. Removing the blocks, the blanket if you've used them. Rolling onto your right side, knees drawn into chest. Taking a few breaths here. And when you're ready, taking your time, and press up into a seated position. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. It was an honor. Namaste.